Okay, I just need to make sure that this is actually streaming. I think there's a slight delay. Okay, I think that I'm live. I am doing this on my own for the first time ever, actually. Normally I've got Graham with me, and the reason that I'm slightly delayed is, as some of you might be aware, there's been a horrible incident at the parade in Liverpool, in which, as far as we can tell, like a number of casualties have been taken to hospital. It was all a little bit nerve-wracking because we were getting pictures in the group chat throughout the day from Graham, who was there, and he is there, but he's fortunately safe and he's not on the side of Liverpool where the incident's taken place. So as far as I'm aware, Graham is okay, but he's just checking in on his friends who were sadly closer to where it all happened. So can I just check with you, because I'm still getting used to OBS. Normally Graham is my producer and my co-host, but he isn't here this afternoon. So I'm just making sure that the audio is okay and that the thing isn't all glitchy. Are we good? Are we good? Everyone's in the chat. Hello to everyone that's joined in the chat. Yeah, unfortunately, some utter shitbag has had to ruin what was a really, positive day for Liverpool. So, sending all my love to Liverpool. It's a wicked city. Was there for the Labour conference a couple of years back, and I was pleasantly surprised. Well, not surprised, but happy to see that so many people really hate the Tories there. So it was it's good to know that everyone is that I know, as far as I'm aware, is all right. But as if it's not nerve-wracking enough doing your first live stream on YouTube. Normally I do them on TikTok, where I started out. Actually, that's where I normally do the live streams, and I'm using my new camera, my new fancy camera. I don't know if I can make it track me. Let me see if I can fiddle around with this. Track me. No, it's not working. It's not working. But yeah, so what I would advise people, though, as ever, always, when there's something like this going on, is to never ever share the videos that people feel the need to upload on Twitter, because people, without the consent of those that have been hurt and injured, so often feel the need to share graphic content. People that are kind of trying to check in and find news might end up seeing their family members mangled, and it does look like, from what I was unfortunate enough to see from the hashtag fatalities possibly, but I'm not going to speculate, but it doesn't look good. And unfortunately, from what I can see, it doesn't look like an accident, but again, nobody knows at the moment, just simply in the way that it kind of backs up and then goes again. And I just wish that I hadn't seen that, frankly. Hi Sarah Davies, thank you for the £2 super chat. Hi Tan, hope Graham's friends are okay too. Yeah, he's just trying to get hold of them at the moment. So we've got a slightly subdued start to the live tonight, but what I would ask is if you've got any questions that you want to ask, pop them in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on them. I don't know how to do all the technical stuff. I'm like a tech nan. So Graham is usually my producer, but he's having what's supposed to be a day off, having some beers with some mates and having a nice time. Hearing people say I'm not surprised from what I was unfortunate enough to see. So I would like to ask once again, don't share the videos, don't further that, because not only is it traumatizing, and we're not really supposed to see that, like with any graphic scenes, we're not really made to see that, and the brain has difficulty trying to differentiate between what is a video image and what's real life. And it's not a film, these are people's family members, they're people's friends, and yeah, please just don't share them. But yeah, it's awful. I don't know really where to begin this week. Actually, it's been a bit of a weird one this week. It feels, as I said in my video the other day, it feels a little bit like whiplash. We're getting a bit of political whiplash from Starmer and Labour broadly, where they're, on the one hand, last week were going full balls to the wall, trying to emulate Nigel Farage, resulted in a point drop in the polls. My friend Aid Thompson, have disappointments. If you don't follow him already, you should. He satirised this perfectly, because we both saw it coming. We all saw it coming. The day after the election, the wipeout, the bloodbath there, we saw that happen. We saw what was unfortunately the consequences of, yet another administration, this time unfortunately Labour, dancing to the fiddle of Nigel Farage, which ended so well for the Tories, didn't it? It ended so well for them. They're now in political obscurity, and people voted for change, and they're not getting the change, and they're maybe starting to see some improvements, but they're not getting the kind of political landscape changing. And we need that now more than ever, because the division and the hatred in this country is an all-time high, and we need to row back on that, and we need to start trying to bring people together. Is there a cat in the background? Because I is there actually a cat in the background? I can't actually see. I think I'm safe for now. But there will, because I've made the mistake of not shutting the bloody door, there's going to be probably one of my insane tuxedo cats roaming in the background at some point. But yeah, something interesting that happened this week was Angela Rayner. I found Angela Rayner's leak to the Tory graph, or it was the Tory graph exclusive, wasn't it? I found that to be particularly interesting, because over the last couple of months, Rayner looks like the light has dimmed out of her eyes. She's always been one of the most kind of like outspoken, spirited kind of like members of Labour with personality. And she's been sitting there sullen. And the way that she was when Starmer, which he actually apologised for, made that comment was to the, I think it was the Plaid Cymru member, was kind of saying that said it all, I think. And I think that this is actually showing more of a division between Starmer and his Chancellor than Rayner and Starmer. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but I can foresee there being a possible reshuffle afoot. And looking at the timing, that's probably going to come after the kind of summer recess. But I think that the person who's more likely to go for the chop would possibly be Reeves, because she's someone that they can pin all of the mistakes on, and then they can start afresh. And there's also talk of U-turns, which Kemi Badenoch made an absolute pig's ear of in PMQs when she was handed the most perfect open goal in the world, and failed to capitalise on it because she is so unbelievably useless, you know. She is just a limp dick at an orgy. She's pointless. And yeah, so I think that there's going to possibly be a reshuffle. Either they're going to keep hold of Reeves to kind of capitalise on her uselessness in terms of implementing kind of Cameron Osborne era fiscal policy, or they're going to get rid of her and start afresh. But there are going to be U-turns afoot, and there's also talk of a rebellion. So I think the people that are coming through to rebel, there's apparently quite a big rebellion of people that are going to go against the cuts to welfare, because it's a fundamentally un-Labour thing to do. So I agree with Rayner, and I'm really proud of this, but you've got to look at the interesting aspect of how the leaks came about, because if there's two things that are like red meat for the Tory graph, it's Rayner, because they love to just rip her, and it's also just an exclusive of there being some kind of division in Labour, although we all know that Labour is deeply divided. Sarah Davies in the chat saying, you heard over 150 MPs. I've heard 130, more so. But, you know, they sometimes overstate the rebellion. But the memo was one that proposed like £4 billion in tax rises. And the detail of the policy was very... It was like wildly, like, it was almost like if it was Angela that suggested this and not just her team, it was very, I don't know how to put this, like economicsy. Like a lot of it, I was reading through it and I was like, I don't even know what a bunch of this stuff is, because I'm no economist. Like I'm shit with numbers. I will level with you. But the thing that stuck out was the popular, prudent and not impacting working people, which is what we want as Labour voters. And McSweeney's influence, as someone's mentioned there in the chat, you know, they can take McSweeney with them as well. Hard agree. He's becoming like this weird kind of Dominic Cummings style figure, isn't he? He's just like kind of like looming around with his own kind of agenda that totally goes against the agenda of Labour. Almost like he's a plant, like he's been put there by the Tories, or he's been put there by, I don't know, Reform. If they had the brains to do it, he's been put there. And what I've been thinking is that we need some kind of like Malcolm Tucker style figure. And there's always been kind of like, people have talked about how Malcolm Tucker was modelled on Alastair Campbell, and how if we had someone like Alastair Campbell back in the fray, things would probably be a lot better. And I don't know how you guys feel about that. There's a lot of controversy because of his links to Blair's kind of disastrous decisions. But I personally think that he's one of the best director of communications that Britain's ever seen, regardless of the catastrophe that was Iraq, you know, the Iraq war. But Yuri, I'm going to try and pronounce your, I'm going to try and pronounce it. Yuri Ninfektinov. Wow, did that badly, didn't I? Thank you for the £5 super chat. McSweeney is another one of those knob flavoured lollipops. I could not agree more. Yeah, it is. It's just not working. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I think that if a bunch of us lot were in charge of their comms, they genuinely would be doing better. Because they've not got their, not saying we've got our fingers kind of completely on the pulse, but they've not got their finger on the pulse. And the visuals alone that they put out are shockingly bad. Like they put out like memes that weren't even funny like 10 years ago, because they allocate their comms to, like, as far as I'm aware, agencies, like external agencies. So these are probably like people that are kind of like fresh out of university, probably like a middle class, upper class university, possibly private school. And they don't like, with people like Aid and Graham and myself, because we came from nothing and kind of like worked our way up to where we are, we really appreciate and interact with our communities of people. And whilst there is obviously a bit of an echo chamber, a massive echo chamber, because we're all kind of like bloody progressive lefties, we get an understanding of how people feel that maybe, you know, Labour voters or people that would vote Labour if they were just doing things a bit better. And we're also in the same boat as the people that are our viewers. Like, none of us are like bloody millionaires or billionaires, or a lot of us aren't even on a high wage, and we're just talking from our lived experience about politics. We didn't study PPE at fucking Oxford or whatever. But yeah, so I've just got distracted by someone that... Why have they ignored tubers so long? Labour, Billy. Yeah, well, they didn't. When I started off at TikTok, just roasting Tories at the height of the pandemic, we were contacted quite early on by people that I think were working in a kind of like comms capacity for Labour, and they had no idea how to interact with us. They thought that giving us like a list of, you know, their talking points or their kind of like red lines were, and then trying to get us to talk about it for them, unpaid, was the way to do it. Which is really ironic when you think of the meaning of the word Labour and the origins of the Labour Party. But yeah, we had people contact us, and I very quickly called bullshit on it. I was like, look, if you want us to do this, we're gonna choose what we talk about. We're not gonna just put out your party lines. If you don't agree with it, it's not getting said. We're not gonna, you know, just do what you want us to do. And it kind of fizzled out from there. Aid was contacted as well. Graham applied for a job with Labour, and they, at great expense, went down to London on his birthday, missed his own birthday celebration, and then they just kind of ghosted him. And then they went with an agency. Someone's just said in the chat here, get in number 10. I can't imagine anything worse than being in government, like as an MP. The last thing I wouldn't even want to work for a broadcaster. Like, it's just not my thing. I would be too constrained. The bureaucracy would drive my ADHD brain mental. Even more mad than I already am. And yeah, I just don't think that I could. I just don't think it's for me personally. Like, it's just not my cup of tea. When people have said it before, I've said the last thing that we need is another dickhead that doesn't know what they're doing in control of legislation and policy. And maybe I could just go in for a year, you know, and then just like, or for a term, and then just, you know, blow all of the taxpayers' money on bloody gack and hookers like the rest of them. But yeah, thank you for your nice comments about the tech working well. This is all brand new to me, so I'm not, you know, if I could, I don't know why my carpet looks so grimy. It's not that bad. I think it's the lighting. I think I've got the... Oh, hello. It just zoomed out. How did it do that? Was it because I did a hand signal? I don't understand how that happened. I'm just double checking that my stream is still working okay, because it's gone a bit laggy and weird on my screen, at least. Hang on a minute. 1 second. Zoom in closer. Not fucking doing it, is it? Oh dear. Oh dear. We were just talking about how well the tech was doing and now it's all gone to shit. I really hope that it's still working okay. God, I've lost my bloody thread now. Try flipping off. Right, let me just go back up in the chat because there was a question there that I was going to answer. Oh, thank you, John Marshall, for the $4.99 super chat. I like your little hippo fella. It's very cute. And let's celebrate their first super on a live stream. Is that my first super? I don't think that is my first super. Oh, that's your first super. But thank you, John. Very much appreciate it. I'm just catching up now. Oh, it's laggy on comments, but you know, I'm all kind of like slow on my own screen right now, so I don't know what's going on. But yeah, as I was saying, in terms of Labour broadly, people want policy that helps people. Like, you vote Labour for public services to work. You vote Labour for the NHS to work. You don't vote Labour for people to undermine the hard-working people that look after your granddad with dementia, or the nurses that are forced to live on food banks. You've just seen who's behind me on the shelf, have you? You've just seen Boris Johnson. I actually once scared my extremely, people think it's a lie when I say extremely left-wing landlord with that mask coming up the stairs once, and it was, for me, one of my funniest moments, actually. Yeah, we don't vote for a party and then expect them to do a UE. And I think this week has been kind of a bit of damage control, actually. But I also think it shows how, like Blair, Keir Starmer is extremely good on the global stage, but the problem is he hasn't got a brown figure at home handling all of the domestic comms and policy. That's a massive problem. He's very good at diplomacy. He's done very well at handling Trump. Excuse me. He's done very good when it comes to Zelensky, Ukraine. Really good at helping build relationships with, realigning with the EU. That's been really positive. And at home, it's kind of all going to shit, really, let's face it. So the only reason that I think Blair found a place for himself on the global stage was because Brown had it all covered in terms of fiscal policy and redistribution and, save and spend and pouring that money into public services. Plus, we were economically more prosperous back then. So we're in a bit of a pickle at the moment. Yeah, you're quite right to point out there that the handling of Gaza has been abysmal. Yeah, it has. It's and they're rowing back on that, but they're rowing back on that far too late. And I feel that this is the same problem that they're going to have in terms of domestic policy too. Because they led with a kind of Machiavellian policy in terms of the winter fuel payments. And as Graham pointed out the other week, in terms of the bus fares, things that are going to affect people on a day-to-day basis. And they are starting with there's a bunch of other policy that they're starting to implement, like nationalising the rail. That's beginning when the contracts run out, so they're not caught in a kind of debt situation. And that's going to go well. But we've still got the problem of Farage. We've still got the age-old problem of media regs, or a lack thereof in terms of media reform. And as long as they've left that on the back burner and they're not paying any attention to that, then we're just not going to get anywhere, because excuse me, Starmer's going to continue to or the Labour broadly, any positivity is going to be drowned out by people moaning about the fact that they can't take 5 holidays in a year. Like that Tory Graph article that turned out to be written by AI the other day. Wow. Anyway, thank you. We've got a super chat here from Hacksola. Thank you very much. Hi Tan, do you think Starmer will be PM come the next general election? Just a couple of months ago, I would have said, of course, yeah, I think he will be. But the predicament that we're in with this is a very similar predicament that we had with the Tories, actually, which is whoever could replace him is likely to be even worse. Because if you were to go down the kind of continuity route of Starmerism, whatever the fuck Starmerism is, because we still don't have a real, clear vision besides his diplomatic abilities. But if we were to go down the continuity route, it would be Wes Streeting, who is very unpopular with progressives because of his really dehumanising, unacceptable approach to transgender rights and the puberty blocker stuff, and then falling in line with the gender criticals. That's a massive problem to a lot of people, and public support is broadly on side for trans people. I've never seen support like it for the posts that I put out on that. It was across the board, people support trans people because they know that it is obvious scapegoating and it's really cruel policy. So, and also he just narrowly won his seat with I think about 500 votes due to Gaza, the situation in Gaza, the genocide that Netanyahu's committing, impacting voter turnout. I mean, that's how God, his name's just fallen out. John Ashworth lost his seat, and it came very close to affecting Jess Phillips, even though Jess Phillips had a bunch of problems in her general election campaign. And then if you go the other way, there's a lot of people talking for people that aren't even able to do it, like Burnham or like Mick Lynch. It's like they're not even MPs, they're not constituencies, they're not able to. Rayner would be difficult, even though I would want her, because of the rampant misogyny that is just increasing with every single passing day due to the algorithms that are also pumping out far right rhetoric, equally pumping out dangerous misogynistic content, which is only going to get worse with the rise of AI. So if I could choose anyone, it'd probably be someone like Clive Lewis, but he's not going to get a look in. But I don't really know who else that would be in the running. I mean, Anja's the deputy. She would be a contender in a leadership contest. But will he do it? If he gets rid of McSweeney and his mad set of advisors, he could still. He's got a year to turn it around. I would say he's got until the May elections next year to turn it around. But if he fails to, then it's going to be a case of country before party. But I don't want someone like Wes Streeting to take over, not least because of the contentious situation in terms of NHS funding and the fact that, unfortunately, again, like progressive American companies, even Obama and Biden, who was more centrist, gave money to Peter Thiel, who is, I would say, clinically insane. Like, that guy wants a technocracy. He's said loads of shady shit, and he is knee deep in our NHS. Yuri, okay, fine, I'll take over from Starmer. Thank you for the £2 super chat. Do you know what though? You know, give it a go. Yeah, it's worth a bash, isn't it? I mean, I'd give it a go if the opportunity came up. But yeah, I a lot of support here in the chat for Clive Lewis too. He's a lad. I really like Clive. I think he's great. The country needs Rory Teeth Bloke. That's an unusual name, isn't it? I don't know. I mean, look at it. We're not even a year in yet. I mean, this time last year, we were still in kind of pre-election mode. We were gearing up for the, the general election, the great Tory ousting. And now look at it. It's been marred with disappointment for their choices. First and foremost, you've got to hold them responsible for their choices. But it's also the general climate, which is troubling. And it's kind of like groupthink or group mentality, because their popularity is massively inflated. And that causes other people to think, oh, I better join in with that then. Like it's like a herd mentality, and perceived popularity begets more. It brings in more popularity for that particular person. But a lot of it is not real. Like, a lot of what you see on Twitter at the moment is not real. It's just, it's all a load of bollocks. It is pretend. It's not real. Right, what have we got here then? So I'm just going to have a little look in the chat. Angela is great, but not PM material. Well, I don't know. I think that she would face a lot of deeply personal scrutiny that Liz Truss would never or didn't face, despite being about as used. Honestly, she was just like a discarded mannequin in a ditch. Thick, like, I mean, unfathomably thick, and insane, which is the worst combo ever. And she didn't get very much personal scrutiny, despite all the rumours about her having, boffed, reportedly, allegedly, I have to get that in, a certain Chancellor that she was bloody hell, I can't remember now, it's been so long, it feels like a million years ago. Kwasi Kwarteng was her Chancellor, wasn't he? And Theresa May, she will not get the same level of respect, not by a long shot. It's just not going to happen. And the misogyny that she faced from the Mail, actually indefensible misogyny from the Mail, over the entire kind of like, the growler comments, and the thought that she was doing some kind of like Basic Instinct where she was showing off her, lady parts to distract Boris Johnson, was another level. And then them trying to make a big deal out of like a tiny house sale, tiny amount of profit on a house sale, and all the while, the Tories had spunked like billions of our money into the ether whilst killing loads of us. But as my good friend Aid says, all roads lead back to press regulation and reform, because without that, and that's not so that the left or Labour can use the media to their advantage, it's just so we can get a semblance of fact-based journalism, which we don't have. We don't have fact-based journalism. We have opinion pieces dressed up as fact. We have lobbyists, wielding their power over compromised politicians and the media alike. And we have an illusion of democracy. I think it was Peter Oborne that said, when you lie to steal a vote, democracy dies. And how true he is. And he's written a number of good books, which is The Assault on Truth. And also, I think it's called The Invention of Political Lying or The Rise of Political Lying, which was actually about how a lot of the problems with spin, there's always been spin, but it was particularly magnified under Blair's Labour. There were problems, but then there were also problems on the left. So, but if you do have any questions, by the way, feel free to pop them into the chat. It doesn't even have to be about politics, because what my chat is today, hence why my backdrop is terrible, is first and foremost me seeing if I can actually do this by myself and work the tech, because I am Technan, destroyer of software. And I'm holding my arms up, and the little computer that I've got, my little camera, is flashing at me. I don't know what that means. I think that's... okay. Okay, so if you do that, look at this in real time on a live stream. The professionalism that you're getting tonight is unrivaled. You can't get this anywhere else. You can't get what looks like a crackhead's carpet and me learning in real time how to work things anywhere else. If you want chaos, you're very likely to get it with me. So tell us about the AI Tory graph article. Yeah, I haven't got the reference in front of me because I've got my book in front of me. Oh, nearly took out my own fucking mic then. I've got my book in front of me, but I haven't written out the notes for that yet. But there was a now removed Telegraph article. I'll put it in the chat afterwards, or the cache version. I'll probably have to do an archive PH on it. Where it talked about how someone's on like an eye-watering income and they can only take like 5 holidays a year. But someone's repurposed it with a picture of the royal family saying we can only go on holiday 48 weeks of the year and we get £22 million a year from the taxpayer. But yeah, we've got Peter Core in the chat. Right, I'm going to scroll up and look at some of the other questions in a second. But big love to Peter Core, Mr. Rejoin. Sad about Liverpool. Glad Graham's okay. We all are, because my heart rate, when I saw the news, because I knew he was there, my heart rate actually registered on my Fitbit because it just went like I was shitting myself, worried that something had happened. You're doing great, Tan. Thank you. From Superfan, Peter Core. You're not my number 1 fan, are you? You're not going to misery me. You're not going to put my leg between 2 blocks and just and drag me to the Rejoin mask. Put your National Rejoin March. I can't do numerals. Is that 5? National Rejoin March, Saturday the 18th of October. Put it in your diaries, everyone. I've been there before and it is brilliant. Loads of beautiful, passionate people. Graham actually did a really good speech last time. My friend Alex, who you guys probably know as Political X, who does the Sunday roast, he did a really good speech. There's lovely Liz, and obviously our beloved Femi, he's there, and also Mike Galsworthy, who is always a lot of fun at parties too, and he'll probably be there. I don't know if I'm naming people that haven't yet agreed to come, Peter, but I'm just naming the people I saw last time. So yeah, everyone get down to that, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. Can you hide that book in the background? I don't know which book you're referring to, but the mask of Boris Johnson was one that I was going to use for a skit during the pandemic. I was going to dress up as Boris Johnson and walk through the kind of like half empty town and do a kind of like satirical thing on Boris Johnson. But in the end, I've used it to just scare the shit out of my landlord, which would probably hit harder if my landlord wasn't actually, essentially in terms of political leaning, I think an anarcho-syndicalist. So which is kind of closer to what my kind of political leaning is, actually. Get called a centrist, but in an ideal world, anarcho-syndicalism's kind of the way forward, really. Okay, let's have a look. Chaos is good. I fucking agree, mate. I agree. Right. Let's have a little look. Liam Fairhurst. I go to Phil for the logic and grounded sensibility. I go to Graham for the rants and getting the frustration out. I come here for the chaos. Well, thanks, man. I sit there attempting to give you research material, right, in my videos, and somehow try to get a laugh in by taking the piss out of them. And now I'm just chaos nan, apparently, well, in terms of tech, and kind of getting there in age. So here we go. Yuri, thank you for the £2 super chat, and also thank you also for the super chat, Peter. Yuri, Crackhead's Carpet was Tantric Nan's 4th album. Tantric Nan need to make a comeback. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Like Rumours era Fleetwood Mac meets Gong. Who would not turn up for that? I know who would turn up. Loads of new age hippies. And I bet they'd bring loads of banging weed too. So let's have a little look at. Have I missed something? Nadia Whittome. She's not going to get a look in. I think she's actually one of the MPs that was. No, she's not. I don't think she is one of the MPs that had their whip removed. I know Zara Sultana was, but Zara Sultana's very much of the kind of like hardcore Corbynite faction. Whereas, so I've got an itchy nose because I've had hay fever all day, and I've been blowing my nose profusely. I've not got a problem. But yeah, it's Nadia Whittome. I don't think she's going to get a look in, actually. Boris is stalking you, avoiding his newborn. Oh my God. Christ alive. It's always the worst people in the world that just kind of like incessantly breed, isn't it? I just don't understand how he could even get to the point of conception. It's just like this kind of like vat of blancmange, you know. It's like having like Slimer from, or whatever his name was, from Ghostbusters, just like wobbling towards you. And that's not like body shaming. I mean, generally, he is as a person just like a vat of jelly. Doesn't make any sense. Power to the people with Graham Price. What up? My question is, why don't you do this more often? I know from my channel that people love a swearing, straightforward presenter. Top marks, Tanskiii. Well, I have been doing more streams, actually, but I usually have Graham's support. Whilst I was kind of like easing myself into the role. That sounded more pervy than it should have. I was just easing myself into the role. But easing myself into the role, I think that's what Boris Johnson calls sex, actually. But no, it's I'm getting there with YouTube. As I say, I've got loads of experience doing streams as guest slots, and I've streamed on Instagram and TikTok for years. But it feels really different on YouTube. It feels, because obviously now all of my video content goes onto YouTube, and I might upload bits of it elsewhere. But it feels like the pressure is on YouTube now. So I have kind of like gently exposed myself to you all. So Tony Benn, he's dead, mate. I don't think he's going to get a look in. Peter Cord, definitely not, but a super fan, just not in a crazy way. So you're not gonna break my knees or my legs. Well, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. Can't complain. As long as you don't, make it impossible for me to walk. Unquiet Badger, oh dear, you're touching on that. Okay, so I don't know how many of you caught the Politics Social live that we all did together in the pub on Friday in Brighton. But things did go down. Things went down that night. And I'm sad to say that broadly, that has not been resolved. And it's a shame that it hasn't been resolved, because I'm so sad, because Graham put so much effort and work into his channel. It's up to him if he wants to address this with people, so I'm not going to go into it. But what I will say is that level of communication that we witnessed is totally unacceptable. It's not what I would ever condone. And it was a really fun night. Everyone was having a lot of fun. It was a great little venue. Everyone was really happy to be together. And it was really disappointing what happened. And I'm not happy about it still. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But, okay. Everyone keeps talking about media reform. How do Labour go about this without huge backlash from free speech preachers? They just fucking do it. They do it, and so what? The situation we're in at the moment, especially with things like Brexit too, is they've just got to fucking do it. Regardless of what people think, because they're not going to win either way. This is the point. If they don't realign with Europe, they continue going down the cosplaying as reform route. They keep this up, they're gonna tank, and they're gonna lose voters, and they're hemorrhaging voters to the Lib Dems and the Greens for good reason, because you know what Ed Davey stands for, you know what the Green Party stands for, you know that they're going to put in policy that's broadly wanted by across the political spectrum. Actually, like, everyone broadly polled that wants climate change measures to be put into place. People want that because they can see the reality of it. And then you've got reform, getting rid of flood defences in a flooding hotspot. But do you know who's going to get blamed when the shit hits the fan for that? Labour, because they're too small to take the flak for it. But what a nightmare, honestly. They just have to do it anyway, because they're not going to win with the press no matter what they do. So they might as well use their impressive majority to legislate for good and for sense whilst they have it, so people can get a glimpse of what it's like reversing the insanity and the self-harm of Brexit, and what it's like when they're fed facts and not bullshit by the papers. So there we go. That's my 2 pence on the subject anyway. Kelvin Griffin, this is the first time watching a live podcast for me. I'm dead impressed. Oh, thank you very much. Well, the benefit of my ADHD is the fact that I can just fucking talk for Britain, even kind of to myself, which is what it feels like you're doing this. So go neurodiversity. Why do you keep talking about cat chaos? Because I keep thinking that there's a cat. Like, I'm never more than 2 meters from a cat. Can you make yourself go upside down, I don't think so. I don't I don't think so. I love it, Tan. That wasn't shade. Oh, you're referring to the gig on Friday? It fucking was, because I'm furious about it between me and the 375 people watching. I'm frankly furious about it. You've got socks older than me. Well, that makes me feel better. I think I've not missed a super. Right, I've got a super chat here. I like jelly normally. Fucking hell. Yeah, I don't. So that's probably why. I don't know. I would say a tub of rice pudding, or just a loose bag of rice pudding. I did once describe like what it must be like stripping Boris Johnson. It must be like a fabric wardrobe, just kind of like bearing down on you. Anyway, Marvin Richard, thank you for the £20 super chat. Mick Lynch would wipe the floor with Farage. Agreed. Can you imagine how entertaining PM questions would be? It gets my vote. So would Angela Rayner. Or as I mistakenly keep calling her, Gloria Gaynor. She will survive. I can't say Gordon Brown without adding texture like sun. It's just every time. Every time. Even if I don't say it physically, it's Gordon Brown, texture lines. Every time. Through my mind he runs. Every time. But no, we're going to do another social with, again, I'm plugging Politics Social. I think it's Politics Social UK is his @ but if you search for Politics Social, Graham will come up. I think we're going to do another one in Sheffield, and I think that Graham's going to try and Femi's going to go, and I think a bunch of the old school Brexit crew are going to go too. So, but no, I really agree with what you say about Mick Lynch, and I think instead of old Polanski, it is Polanski, isn't it? His name's fallen out of my head. The guy that's running for Greens, Zach. I think that the Greens, to get away from their kind of like lovey image, could really do with a hardcore working class frontman rather than another. I mean, I think he briefly went to private school. So I'm just turning my light down a bit. I feel like I've got like in my face. We could really do without another lovey, super rich fella. We could really do with a really great communicator, because people like Mick Lynch, or even like I joke that Danny Dyer should do it, but people like that will wipe the floor with Farage because they're real working class people you could have a pint with, So I don't know. You think I'm hilarious? Oh, thank you. I am actually going on the Bin podcast. I need to check the date. I think it's the 27th. But I'll have to double check. And in case I didn't say so, thank you for the super chat, Marvin. Appreciate it. Great message too. Chris Bryant. I didn't have a good experience when I met Chris Bryant, actually. And I was advised by someone else in the Labour Party, an MP who I won't name, that apparently this is kind of like his thing. He's a bit of a tosser, and he came across as such. He's a great communicator, although the other day he felt the need to, for no reason, kind of compare Jeremy Corbyn to Kemi Badenoch. And that was such a stupid comparison, objectively stupid comparison, that will bite him, because he's relatively popular amongst progressives. And as we know, rightly or wrongly, a lot of people kind of have a kind of quite an emotional connection to Jeremy Corbyn. But not only is it, but that aside, it's objectively a stupid thing to say. It's just not true. It's just, they're not even on the same plane whatsoever. There was some friction and booze. Oh, you're talking about Friday. The booze wasn't for most of us, it wasn't the problem. It was just really poor communication, you know, and yeah. Oh, Graham is doing stateside in 5 minutes. Oh, okay. I don't know. He might not be, but I will eventually give way to him at some point, and it'll be good just to see his face and to make sure that he's okay. I'm just going to scroll back up. Sorry guys, I've lost my way a little bit in the super chat in the chat because I've got a super chat here. See clues. I agree. What did you miss Friday? Watch Graham's Politics Social Live. It was a really great night actually. Although it was particularly difficult being the only woman on a panel of 5. But fortunately, all the people involved are progressive men. I thought Pranay's first ever live stream went so well. He made really great points on the comparisons between the working classes in Britain and the working classes in India, and the way that we've got more in common than say an immigrant's got in common with a millionaire like Farage or Tice. So thank you, Kieran. Is it croissant or croissant? Oh, it's not croissant. Jesus, that's me still thinking I'm in Paris. Kieran Croissant, 199 super chat. Thank you very much. Doing great, Tan, on your first solo flight. I may land after all. Who knows? Nearly ended in a punch up. It didn't. It didn't end up in a punch up. It just ended up in kind of disappointed head shaking. Just like, we don't need that, Why must the youth fight against themselves, as the specials said? But yeah, there was no need for that. You've got ADHD too. Welcome to the party, pal. Did they give you the speed? They did me. I don't know if it's working. If you want to know what happened on Friday, watch Graham's, go to Politics Social, maybe not immediately, wait until I'm finished, and watch the Friday night Politics Social that we all did in a pub. And it was great until the last 10 minutes. And I only realised watching it back that my final word on the stream as the credits were rolling was fucking hell. So it was a bit much. It was a bit bloody much. It was a bit stupid. Yuri, thank you again. £5 super chat. I'm trying to convince Graham to do a Scottish meetup. Friday night was good, but booze and egos were mixing a little too hard. Only, Mike didn't drink a drop. Mike's not very well. Mike's going through cancer treatment. Mike was not drunk. I wasn't. I was drinking Saint Germain elderflower spritz like a bougie bastard. I was drinking not very strong spritzes. It was mostly like soda water. I think Pranay had a couple. The rest of them were knocking back the red wine. I don't touch red wine. So to some extent, yeah. I just don't know. Even to this day, I don't know what the hell happened there. And there's not been any clarification for what happened there. And frankly, I've probably talked too much about it publicly because it's not really a public discussion, I think. But it was definitely very disappointing. So, oh yeah, Mick Lynch is a Lexiteer. And Lexiteers, in the word of Danny Dyer, fry my nut. I don't understand what on earth they are on. Which was one of the problems that I had with Jeremy Corbyn, because it makes no sense to me. How can you be a progressive and want Brexit, especially knowing that the entire Brexit campaign is built around what's essentially far-right hysteria and you know, about immigration and all the other problematic shit that went down. The lies that they sold, and I still cannot believe that, considering the nightmare it's made of our economy and our society, that people are still like, that Farage is like Teflon, that it hasn't stuck to him. Because Christ, you know, you're not the only one that. Oh, Diz, I didn't know that there was another mod. We are the mods. We are the mods. Oh no, you are the only mod on here. I thought at first you said I'm the only mad one here, and I was like, I'm literally diagnosed as mad. So Danny Dyer is extremely funny too. And someone said to me in my video where I talked about Farage being on one of his holidays, you know, being in Nice with his trotters up. Someone was like, oh, you must watch James O'Brien. And I was like, less so since Sangeeta Maiska, I'll be honest with you. Because what? The way that he handled that was shocking and ruined him for me to some extent. But that's from the old classic mad, like late night with Piers Morgan thing, where on the panel there was bizarrely Danny Dyer, Pamela Anderson, Jeremy Corbyn, Susanna Reid and Piers Morgan, and watching on were, I think, was it James Cleverly and like a footballer, like a famous French footballer who were watching on from the sidelines. And that was the twat moment when Danny Dyer ripped Cameron a new one. It's like, he called all this on. Where's he now? Where's he now? It was genius. So no, I didn't get that from bloody James O'Brien. I got it from that amazing classic video. Black Rainbow, hey, trans flag. You've got an ally in me here. Thank you for watching, Mawuki DMB. So, Marvin Richard, you're very hilarious. It's a sign of intelligence. Cheers, man. I would like to know your opinion of Stuart Lee if you have one. I bloody love Stuart Lee. I've seen him 3 times, I think, in I was going to say in concert, but he doesn't do concerts, does he? He does stand-up. Yeah, I've seen his stand-up thrice. He's up there as probably the best stand-up that I've seen. However, a really underrated comic to see live, who is someone that made me laugh so much I thought I was going to be sick, and it also looked like I was taking the piss and making it up, or it almost like sounded like a heckle, was Tim Key. So funny. He does Mid-Morning Matters with Alan Partridge and such. Amazing. Honestly, he's one of the funniest people. He's just got like a direct line to my funny bone. But I'd love to have seen people like I'd have killed to have seen Rick Mail, who was my comedy hero. And I've often talked about how I wept in public on a train when I found out that he'd died, and Vic and Bob too. Bob Mortimer and Vic Reeves. Kill me. If you haven't already, check out their version of Earth Song in the pub style, because it's perfect. Hello from Kansas. Not in Kansas anymore. Thanks. I give thanks for my medical weed script daily. Yeah. The comments were interesting that night. Yeah, I was trying to keep an eye on them. But to be honest with you, on a panel, when you're on a panel as a woman with a bunch of guys, even if they're progressive, it's almost impossible to oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm having problems with my light. It's almost impossible to get a word in edgeways. So even if you are a bit talky. So I'm just having a little look at your comments here. Oh no. So, back to, I can't even remember what the hell I was talking about. We're in a bit of a weird point at the moment because Labour have got until the summer recess to try and gain a bit of ground, and unfortunately we've got people like Farage that are constantly platformed. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. He's given airtime because he's good copy, but he's only good copy because he's given airtime. So we're in a vicious circle with him. And he gets all the press in the world to throw out these like faddy things, but he's not being held responsible for anything at all. If reform councillors do bad, they can blame Labour. If reform councillors do good, they can say, oh, look what we're doing. When all of the funding or most of the funding comes from central government, and they're in areas that have been historically underfunded for ages. So Labour are trying to put that right, and when they do, reform's going to take the credit for it, even though they're putting right 15 years of Tory misrule and Tories kind of like siphoning off money. You know, there was that fund, wasn't there? The levelling up fund, where the Tories said I think councils could like bid for it. They ended up giving that to their own constituencies, and I live in one of what was a Tory constituency. My family live in one down the road, and our town was made to look better, whilst infrastructure and public services were continuing to crumble, you know, up north. So if they turn it around, then, which they should anyway, but reform are going to try and take credit for that when it's got shit all to do with them. And if they destroy it, they can go, oh well, look what Labour's done. So we're in a nightmare there. But we just need Labour to govern like Labour and to find the balls to be who they really are, because they're going to get slated either way. They've got nothing to lose from just not falling into the right-wing trap, media-wise, reform-wise, you know. I don't know why my little AI robot is beeping at me. I hope it's not going to die. Right, so... Oh, Alex, hello. That's exactly how Alex says hello on the phone. Hello. Damn those trolls. You're going to have to be more specific. Didn't know there were any trolls. Were there any trolls in the chat? I've not seen any trolls in the chat. If so, bravo for whoever's like taken them out. Brilliant. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see any of that at all. But yeah, what Vice guy says there about Starmer playing right into Reform's longer game plan, idiots, could not agree more. Like, it's such an obvious trap, and it's not going to go well for them. It's not going to go well for them at all. But I've just been looking back over my notes, and I'm trying to figure out my direction too over it, because I'm going to be recording some content tomorrow, and people say stop giving like Farage more airtime. Like, you can't just keep giving him airtime. And the thing is, I'm not like, we give the side that the papers don't give to him. And I want to do a video on, or I want to start really hammering home the message, while still obviously holding our current government accountable, which I've been criticised for, despite me always saying I'd do it. I want to start hammering home the really strong links between Trump and reform, because Trump is wildly unpopular in Britain, and reform is apparently, there's the perception of his popularity, or a lot of it's smoke and mirrors, a lot of it is kind of like herd mentality. Because they are basically the same. It's MAGA UK. Been saying this for a month or more. This is MAGA UK. And the country became riddled with conspiracies and didn't recover from it since the pandemic. Like, they really got a foothold in Britain around then. And then there's obviously massive links between the kind of Christian fundamentalists, conspiracy, the alt-right, the far right, and it's one kind of like homogenous glob, and they all are very united and all working for the same common goal, which is why the billionaires support them, because they get a return on investment by being able to lobby the corrupt politicians if they get them in, by getting tax breaks, by avoiding jail, by you know, if it's punishable by a fine, it's I think it's legal for a price or cost. I always get that phrase wrong, but that's the position that we're in. And it's kind of stuff that really sounds like a conspiracy, but it's not. And Laura Bates, amazing woman who talked about, who started the kind of everyday sexism project, has talked about what I was talking about at the beginning, which is the algorithms kind of radicalizing you. If you're a young boy that's just started up a podcast, started up a social media platform account, like an account on a social media platform. I fucked that up, didn't I? If you've just started out as a young boy on social media, you will be bombarded with kind of misogynistic content. They just swarm to you, and it's radicalization, right? And this is what I've been trying to say about how the far right are getting people online, and have been for the last year or 3 years, or it started around with Cambridge Analytica and the kind of Bannon playbook and the Brexit con, and then it's kind of like progressed over. And just got worse and worse and worse, and now it makes Cambridge Analytica look like a kid stealing a sweet from a shop. It's just progressed way beyond that, and we are just distracted, manipulated, radicalized by these algorithms, which give the illusion of kind of the one thing that we all desperately want in social media, and that is the human kind of connection aspect. And the problem is, it's not giving us that. It's making us more divided. It's ruined online dating. It's ruined how people connect romantically. It's keeping us in our houses. And it's Facebook have been found that if like, say, a young girl has a physical insecurity, or she's upset about an aspect of herself, it will play on that and try to sell her things, like whether it's makeup or cosmetic surgery. It is fucking sinister. And everything, our insecurities, our desires, our fears are turned into an opportunity for a sale. And there's a reason why Carol Cadwallader calls these people, which is an amazing term, I wish I'd thought of it, she calls them data rapists. And these people are the same people that are bribing politicians, rigging elections, trying to get far right governments in, because that makes us more susceptible to the possibility of a technocracy to save us all. That's exactly what Peter Thiel wants. And that is kind of what they wanted in 30s Germany, although without the techno aspect. But and the biggest problem of all of this is that not even the world leaders can stop them, because they are bigger than the world leaders. Like, they rule the world leaders. The broligarchy is the new frontier, and this is what happens when you let billionaires happen. This is what happens when you let unchecked greed happen. This is what happens when you don't regulate 10, 15 years ago these people, and when you let unchecked wealth happen. It's like one of the, like disaster capitalism, it's just like the it's one of the perils of late stage capitalism. It's fucking fucked up, and it's going to kill loads of people, and they're all going to, there's a reason why they're all building bunkers. And when you say it, you sound like you're mad, but it's all happening in plain sight. Anyway, sorry. I have been ranting, but I hope that you relate to what I have to say, even a little. Right, let me just double check on because I'm doing this all by myself tonight, so all by myself. Well, I should have actually put a thing on to say that I won't sing. Ivan Ambrose, 9.99 super chat. Thank you very much, my friend. I will boycott Farage's speech tomorrow, but Labour should be making the effort to take the upper hand. But I really can't see what Labour are going to do tomorrow. We're in a tricky predicament there, really, and I see where you're coming from, and I won't give him air time on that, like, at all. I will be critical. But the problem we've got is the kind of personality deficit, because Keir Starmer's not kind of like what is seen as charisma, and we all know that it's kind of personality politics over policy nowadays for a lot of people, isn't it? As if they didn't learn that the hard way with democidal Johnson, because that worked out so well before, didn't it? But I don't know either. I mean, I think if they put someone like Rayner up against him, that might be a different matter, possibly. But yeah, Richard Grumpy Graham's just started. That's good to see. I will crack on for a short while longer, and then give way to my honourable friend, Mr. Graham Hughes. But just scrolling down to have a little look now. See what we've got going on here. Marvin, Richard, thank you very much for the £20 super chat. Farage and Trump share the same stage, for fuck's sake. You were spot on. We've been warned. Please check out Steve Schmidt. It could be Schmid. Well done, top-notch YouTube podcast channel. Thank you very much. Very much appreciate it. But yeah, Farage and Trump are two cheeks of the same grim arse, unfortunately. And yeah, and AI, someone just mentioned there below, Kevin, like, I was trying to discuss this in greater detail on Friday, but it was kind of a tricky convo. I can't emphasise enough how fucked it is, and Aid shares my sentiments. Like, if Aid had been there, he would have fully defended the view that I have of this, which is that AI is dangerously out of control already. And it's also another problem we have with AI. I mean, as a woman, I'm worried because I've already seen faked versions of me. Politicians are going to have it. You're not going to know if a politician has really said something, the audio aspect. And whilst it's currently glitchy, it's learning how to lie and deceive. AI is actually learning how to lie and deceive and get around and become like, I mean, it could become fucking self-aware. It literally could become self-aware. So that's something to look forward to. But also the aspect is like the start of, or the advent of the internet, right? Women aren't involved in this. I think it's something like, I might not be remembering this number correctly, but I think it's something like 12% of women have a role in kind of like creating the AI. That is fucked, because there are women being essayed in the metaverse, right? There are kind of virtual online VR places that you can go to do illegal, shocking crimes to women in virtual reality. And that is terrifying, because as Laura Bates pointed out, there's no other crime where you would say, oh, well, maybe it's all right for them to get it out of their system because it escalates on to further behaviour. You wouldn't say, my son Kevin, he's a bit murdery. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get like a body with, like the when you can't say it on YouTube because I'll probably get banned, but you know what I mean? You wouldn't say that about any other crime. And it won't be enough for them to just do it with a headset. It's like with people that start off kind of like unaliving birds, right, or animals. It doesn't stop there. Like, they go on to do worse. So, yeah, Frankie, thank you very much for your £5 super chat. Absolutely love your balls. Your dad's balls, as my buddy old friend Aid would say. Will Labour's messaging improve? They've been so disappointing. We're trying to tell them, but it has to. It's kind of like an in-joke, isn't it? It's like, oh, well, you know, Labour's comms are terrible. Oh, it's all so funny. It's not very funny when you get the risk of a reform government, though, is it? At all. At all. But yeah, it's I really think that they could do with sorting their shiz out, to be honest with you. We can only hope, you know. Green Sear Dion. Hi ST, trans woman here. Bad times for us. Thanks for your support. You're more than welcome. Lovely to see you here. What do you think of the Supreme Court decision, JKR's involvement and influence on unforgivable Labour? I think Labour's could undo a lot of this by changing the laws and legislation themselves. I don't think they should be reacting to that ruling, and I don't think the police should have automatically made changes that put every woman at risk. I have heard some rumours about this, in terms of behind the scenes, you know, them joking about it, that there's money involved, there's influence, it's all a bit grubby. I think it's extremely disappointing, to put it fucking mildly, that they've just kind of like forged ahead with and especially the situation with puberty blockers. I'm actually going to have Rachel. I've asked Rachel, and there's a couple of other trans women I know that I want to come on the show, and I want to do a chat with them, just so I can get a bit more of an understanding of their lived experience and give them a platform upon which to kind of speak and talk about how it affects them. I would never talk for them. I'm fundamentally morally opposed to the decisions, and as I've said before, I've never been hurt by a trans woman. I've never been attacked by a trans woman. I've never had my drink spiked by a trans woman. I've never felt afraid to walk home at night because of a trans woman. But all those things I've faced at the hands of cis men. And by focusing on demonising trans women, they're letting the perpetrator that commits that crime, in 90+% of cases globally, off the hook. And also Graham Linehan's a massive bellend. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll see me regularly drag him, because he likes to try and pick on me and then he regrets it. So you have my support. And also Sarah, I don't know if Graham's told you that yet, but me and him and Mike have got a little something for you. But Graham will be in touch with you about that, so ask Graham about it. But let's have a little look here. Questionable sanity, hello. Know you from Graham's stream. Advertising intentionality makes you feel bad. Anyone manipulating you to feel deficient or trying to sell you something you don't need. And that brings us back to old Oban's point, doesn't it? In terms of like lying to steal a vote is the death of democracy. And the same can be applied to kind of the morality of advertisers, I think. And that's what a lot of social media does. It's kind of historically, media broadly has always made women feel bad about themselves. But there's a rise in eating disorders in men and young boys now because of these AI generated, ultra filtered versions of people that just aren't real. And the increase in body dysmorphia is just skyrocketing, and it's frankly immoral and it's unregulated, and we're being exposed to it the more that we become addicted to our phones in lieu of real connection. Because there was a dating thing where it talked about how people used to meet, and people used to meet you see this chart through the years, and it goes and goes and goes, almost like that thing with rent prices. It's so depressing. Rent prices and earnings, where like the rent prices go like that and the earnings are like that, like it's terrible. The same applies to people meeting people through their circle of friends or social situations like pubs, right? And what do you have with those things? You have accountability, because if you treat someone's mate badly, you're going to be shunned socially for that. Whereas nowadays people are treated disposably because they think that the next best thing's on the next swipe, and they don't have a circle or a sphere of accountability for their bad behaviour. Now that can be applied to so much of social media, to trolling, to online abuse, to, you know, stealing people's pictures and photoshopping them and dehumanising women, and, you know, attacking people for stalking people, etc. So yeah, very much agree with that. Alistair Kerr. Hello, dear. Some say I should head to the naughty step tan. Have some funs. Love a rant. Keep them going. What have you done, Alistair? You're a reg. You're a regular. What have you done? What have you done? I'm interested now. I want to, like, I'm so bloody nosy. I want to see what's happened in the chat. I don't think that anyone's given you any jip, have they? I don't think so anyway. I don't bloody think so. Brighton was actually a lot of fun. Me and I was laughing about how Graham turned into bloody Sheldon, fun with flags on the pier. He was pointing out all the different flags and where they were from, because he's a bloody, not because he's a flag shagger, but because he's a seasoned traveller. So yeah, it was. I'm just trying to see if I've missed anything. I don't think I've missed anything. But yeah, it's been oh, sorry, I just missed something from Sarah there. Again, sorry, my love, if you've I'm really sorry. The thing that really makes me angry about how trans women are treated is the fact that, disappointingly, even other women can't make the obvious link that it's just misogyny. Because trans men don't face this in the same way, or as often. I'm not saying trans men face no issues. They don't face as much of this. It's the women that are come for. And the women who are broadly more at risk of facing physical attacks, who are more vulnerable. And it's just punching down, and it's bullying, and I hate both of those things. Like, people kind of like lay into me all the time and go, oh, well, it's okay to abuse you because you abuse other people. I'm forthright with rich bastards and Tories and people in a position of power. And I generally just defend myself against people that come for me. I don't go out there kicking down on people, you know. It's, as is my duty, I think it's important to stand up for people that are being treated like utter shite by the establishment and being weaponised in a culture war to deflect from their own inability or criminality, you know. And that's precisely what they are doing. And that is precisely different format, different people, different motivation, but it's 1930s style rhetoric, dehumanising, scapegoating, spreading fear, othering. And what are they doing it in defence of so-called Christian values? No, mate, because if you actually like read the Bible, or you talk to anyone that actually has a proper comprehension of it, what people like Trump and Farage, with their adultery and their terrible treatment of immigrants and their terrible treatment of the poor and weaponising aspects of it to make gay people or people that don't fit into their heteronormative fucking ideal feel terrible. That's the opposite of what much of the Bible's about. And I say that as an atheist. Like, Jesus, from what I can tell, from what I know, was a nice guy. He wouldn't have stood for it. And if there is a hell, which I don't believe there is, but I respect people who do believe it, those bastards are going to hell. Like, they're there's no forgiveness for their treatment of people. So, and that's all I have to say about that. And if I saw J.K. Rowling in real life, I'd yeet her off a yacht. That's what I'd do. I'm not even going to reply to Parzival Phoenix's comment. I think that's a really weird thing to say, mate. Come on, there's enough conspiracy elsewhere. Are you one of those people that think that? Witchy God, thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, women are broadly under attack. There's horrific things happening in America. I've not felt this unsafe in a long time, you know, as a woman myself. Not least because of what I've had to face online. Not least because of that. You know, it's from day dot, I have faced horrific abuse because they just want us to shut up. Just want to shut up and go away. Same as it ever was, really. So yeah, so I'm trying to think if there's anything that I have missed this week. They're all kind of merging into one. I think the EU deal was a good start, a step in the right direction for us. I think that was Labour doing a bit of good. And then boom, the bizarre stories about chemical castration, because why not? You know, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they bring that up? I mean, what? But I think Labour have been trying to row back a bit and possibly shat their own pants regarding the backlash to them going a bit Faragian. Yeah, I know about the far right. So excuse me, my leg's gone dead. I know about the far right conspiracy. Loads of conspiracies going around that are very kind of like homophobic, really, in nature, about Starmer. And it actually kind of reminds me of what happened with thank you for tuning in. It reminds me a lot of what happened with Gove, actually, because people used to talk quite a lot about, you know, him. There was that bizarre moment, wasn't there, in the pandemic when, of all people, Michael Gove turned up at a rave in Aberdeen or something, and it was like, what? And there was videos of him kind of like doing a really bad dad dance to like this like techno. And I remember at the time covering it on my TikTok, and I was like, what the fuck is what how could this fever dream get any worse? Bizarre. Got Pob turning up in a bloody suit. Or you know, the open necked tie look that they seem to favour. And I was like, what the fuck? But a lot of people were talking about him being gay. And my concern isn't his sexuality. My concern is the fact that he's a cunt. That's my concern with Michael Gove. I couldn't give a toss about anything else. It's such a kind of like 1980s News of the World Sunday exclusive, horrible, homophobic headline. That's least of my worries. Least of my worries is how he chooses, or who he chooses to love, or who he chooses to sleep with. My worry is the fact that he is a hater of the poor, now toiling at the Spectator, pushing out more Tory propaganda. You know, that's, you know, Colombia's finest. I actually call it the Gove. If someone talks about it, a certain street recreational drug, I call it Gove nowadays. But Starmer clearly isn't gay. You know, the problem, focus on the things that's actually wrong with him, like the fact that he's not giving a solid vision, that he's got terrible advisors, that he's making wrong political choices. But I still don't understand the hatred of him, because he's so mild. Like, he's just like really just quite beige, you know, bland. There's not, I don't understand how he generates such a kind of strong feeling in people. Maybe it's those that really disagree with what happened when he ran for leadership, possibly. But I don't know. Govi was on Peruvian marching power. Yeah. Definitely. He does U-turn a lot. But to be fair, like, I think Graham and I touched on this on the last stream. When it comes to the pledges, we're in a different world now, and I didn't hold against him dropping a few of them to adapt for changing circumstances, because shit did change. You know, we had a bloody pandemic, we had like the reality of Brexit hitting us economically, we had Russia, Ukraine, Gaza, Israel. I don't hold against him, you know, adapting, but I can see why people were annoyed on him going back on kind of the fundamentals. That I can understand. And yeah, but I still don't think that all of the people that were like that keep on still saying to me, I told you so. Oh, we tried to warn you. Warn me about what, mate? There was no other choice. Like, we've got a really limited first past the post voting system, right? 2-horse race. Like it or not, I don't. I want electoral reform. I want people's votes to matter. But if the choice was, after 15 years of people being like essentially killed, 300,000 people dead from austerity, a couple of 100,000, at least 180,000 directly attributed to Johnson and Hancock, billions of our money robbed out of our pockets as we were dying, like they were just like toff junkies, right? That's actually a real slur against people with addiction, because Jesus, those people are suffering from isolation and poverty. What's the excuse of the Etonians? Okay, it was that or Labour. I would still vote for Labour over that. I would vote for Labour over Reform, because as much as they've made bad decisions, they're not the same. You can abhor the decisions, but we should not be in a position where we're having to say, I'm going to go for the slightly worst option. That's what really irks me. People don't have the choice, and that makes them disengage, and that makes them feel powerless and jaded, and like, oh, well, it doesn't matter anyway, they're all going to lie to me. It's Labour's responsibility to stop that and to introduce some form of electoral reform to make it fairer, or at the very least govern like Labour, so that we feel represented, and so that progressive people feel represented, and they're not feeling like it's a continuation of all the culture wars that make a trans woman feel afraid to go out in public, because if she needs to lose, she's worried about a confrontation, that makes people of colour feel afraid because of the increase in racism. No Labour government should be doing anything that would increase those things. And equally, they should do something so that people feel less electorally disenfranchised. But, you know, what do I know? I'm just sound like a bloody hippie, aren't I? Veg Pie, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. Oh shit, sorry, I clicked the wrong thing. Hi Tan, my friend's nephew came out as a trans woman the other week, and my friend's worried sick about her living in a small town in Buckinghamshire. I don't know how old your now niece is, but there are organisations I know that are out there. In my local town, we have a thing called Outhouse. I know there's mermaids. What I would do is I would encourage her to join groups to find her tribe of people so that she feels like she's got her own kind of community around her. That's probably the best way to approach it, is to make her feel like she's supported. Because I had a housemate that when they moved in came out as kind of non-binary, and I put them in touch with local kind of LGBT groups so that they could feel like they're amongst like-minded people, because I don't have the first idea of what it's like to suffer the horrible effects of gender dysphoria, but I saw it in them and it was horrible. And at least if they've got a support group around them, then they might have other people that they can relate to and share their story with, and then they'll feel less isolated. So unless you suffer yourself from gender dysphoria, you're not really going to be able to relate on the same level. But there are support groups. I would give it a Google. If I can find some after, I'll try and put them in the chat, but I think it depends on your area, and that would be the first port of call, would be to get some support from other people that are also in the same boat. Maybe join some groups in the local area, some socials. I know a lot of places have them. So that would be my first bit of advice as someone that helped my old housemate who had that very problem. And I was very proud that during the time that they lived here, they were able to change their name and meet loads of lovely people locally, and go to pride events and go to counter protests at people who were ridiculously protesting drag queen story time. And yeah, I was very, very proud of them for how they progressed. And by the time that they left, they were a confident trans person who was surrounded by support. So, and they did that themselves. I just signposted them in the right direction. So, yeah, Labour listening to too many focus groups. Couldn't agree more. Absolutely, it's not reliable. Thank you, Alistair, for timing out that person, because I get the feeling that they're not, maybe not a friend of the channel or of progressive thoughts, and it's just sad, isn't it, really, that people feel the need to behave like that, really. Veg Pie, thank you. You are more than welcome. We need to. We've got an empathy deficit, and we just all need to be more decent to each other and rally behind people that are being bullied. Because there's that thing, isn't there? If you see a person being racially abused in public, and you don't know what to do, and you don't know if you feel safe to confront the person doing it, the best thing that you can do is, if it's a trans person, a disabled person, because sadly they're under attack now, and they're even starting to go full eugenics on people with neurodiversity. And what Farage has said about what's it called, about autism, appalling. Is you pretend to be the friend of the person that's the target. So you go up to them and go, "Oh, hi, I haven't seen you," and you bring them away from the person, and you intervene in that way. And that's an approach that is really non-confrontational. If you don't know if you have the might to chin the bully, which, you know what, I wouldn't tell you not to, because, you know, bullies are bullies. But if you don't really feel comfortable doing that, then you just kind of protect the person by engaging them in conversation and just ignore the threat or try and get them away from the threat. I'll go, oh, well, come with me to this. Women do this all the time. Like, I've done this for a woman that I know was in trouble and being harassed by someone outside a pub when I worked as a bar person, I didn't want to say barmaid, it's a bit of an outdated term, but I saw she was like, I could tell from her body language. I went up to her and I was like, oh, I haven't seen you for ages. Oh, come with us, we're going up here. And I just took her away. And she was like, thank you. Because she was just getting harassed by a guy on the street, and it was a totally non-confrontational way of dealing with the problem. So that's a bit of advice that I would offer for that. I feel a little bit like I'm cutting into Graham's time, so I think I might wrap up soon. I think I'm going to wrap up probably in the next 5 minutes or so. It might go through to 10 depending on how, if any of you have any questions, doesn't have to be political, it could be about anything. Drop it in the chat. Marvin Richard, thank you for the £20 super chat. Are your parents political? If not, when did you become so, or was there an event or another influence? Poverty made me political, and my parents weren't at all. My nan was my primary influence. She taught me all about politics, like quite early on, about how important it is. She taught me about history, like the suffragette movement. She's like, you've got to vote. Women died for your right to vote. And she told me why she voted for the Lib Dems despite wanting to vote Labour in the village she lived in, because she knew that there was no chance they'd get in, and she just wanted to keep a Conservative out. And she was fiercely intelligent, so well read. Everyone in our family called her Google, and she was like my inspiration. And I was just talking to my uncle today about how much I miss her. Like, she was an incredible woman, so clever, and yeah, like I still get choked up thinking about it. And I grew up really poor. I was born to teen parents. They were 19 when they had me. They were broke, living off their wits, and I lived in a village with a big private school in it, and you could see the kind of like almost Westminster looking building from my bedroom window. And there was me in like a little mouldy bloody room, and there was just untapped wealth on the doorstep. And that tends to radicalise you quite young, because you would see how the first time I felt looked down upon, I was very young, and everyone in the village that I lived in, because obviously there was like the poor bit and there was the really rich bit, which was most of it. All the kids that went to my school got dropped off in Mercs, and there's my mum dropping me off, walking up the road. And yeah, it was I realised how poor we were really young, and it gives you this kind of like misplaced sense of shame and a lack of confidence that's really hard to shake. So yeah, it's also a hatred of bullies and injustice. And what got me into I've always talked about it amongst friends and pissed them off and bored them. But it was the pandemic kind of like gave me an extra outlook, so I was so isolated. So that's when I started making the kind of the videos, really. So it's like my amazing nan, who I'm certain was undiagnosed with autism. I think they just called it quirks and foibles when she was younger. But yeah, that's the kind of like, trying to keep it a bit short so I can answer a few more, but that is the gist of it, really. I'll have to write a book about it that nobody will read, and I'll be like Alan Partridge getting my book pulped. Winston, thank you for the £9.99 super chat. Do Freddie and Edie help with the ADHD? Yes and no. Yeah, they're wonderful little creatures. I mean, I rescued them because sadly, like the year before, I'd lost both. I had a 9-year-old little cat, beautiful little tabby. She was called Barney, and she was like Ted Bundy. Sadly, she would like at her height just kill everything. Little Charlie, black cat. I'd had her for 11 years. She was like so docile. Both of them died in the same year, and then shortly after I saw, it was a horrible story, origin story of Freddie and Edie. I mean, they were just dumped, and they were traumatized, and they'd bonded really heavily with each other, so they desperately needed a home, but they had to go together, and their story pulled on my heartstrings. Really, I'm a sucker for animals. If I won the lottery, I'd open a sanctuary with all of the animals that need love in it. So they do help a bit, but I don't really think that they help a lot with anxiety, and it's nice to have like little creatures to care for. And I've always had cats. My first cat was a little ginger cat called Alfie, and I had him for most of my life, my early life. So yeah, I think animals broadly are just nice to have around, really. Kirsty McTeer, just a wee help. Thank you, darling. That's really kind of you. 199 super chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Supertanskiii takes after her Supertanskiii. Very good. Very good. Yeah, I've still not really recovered from my nan's death. It was 2016, actually. A fucking terrible year on multiple levels that year. So, private school village life sounds rough. I don't know if you're being facetious there, but let me tell you that the village that I grew up in was 90% super rich and 10%, which was us, council houses. And yeah, whilst it's not as bad as living in a city, doesn't mean that just because I lived there that I could eat good meals every day, or that I didn't wear the same blazer for 5 years of my school life and got bullied horrifically for being poor. And, so I think it's really important that you don't make that kind of like, if that is a negative assumption, yeah, I might have grown up with fields around me, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't reliant on charity for food and clothing, which I was for most of my childhood. And we're talking like dirt poor. My parents were on benefits. I was on free school meals. I was bullied for being poor, and had a very difficult childhood. So I'd appreciate there not being any kind of like assumptions made that purely because I had a few fields around me that it was all rosy, because it wasn't. But yeah, you're right, Aaron. It did give me a sense of humour, I guess. So, how old are you, love? None of your business, love. Bernice Roust, £2 super chat. Thank you. Hugs. Yay. I hate bullies too. I hate bullies. Can't stand them. Can't stand them. If anything gives me a rage, it's that. Right, I'll take one final question if it's a good one. Could be on any topic. As long as you keep it reasonably clean, I'll answer it. Yeah, hand-me-downs, that was not a laugh. I mean, my brothers suffered worse because I was the only girl, so they had to wear my dresses. Not really. Well, they couldn't have pulled them. They probably could have pulled them off. They're taller than me, so. The shame Thatcher put on our families. I think I was at primary school during Major's era. My milk was taken away. Well, not taken away. I didn't have milk. I was bullied at school. Yeah, that's how I developed a sense of humour, though. Am I joining another political party? No, not at the moment. Not at all. Bank holiday. Free school meals. Yeah, there was such a shame because it made you feel shameful because they gave us cards that we had that other people didn't, and used to try and show it without other people seeing, because even my secondary school, you had that system, and my secondary school was in a neighbouring small villagey town that was super affluent too, like surrounded by farmers' kids. And it was such a kind of like culture clash, really, because everyone kind of like picked on all the poorer kids and made you feel like it was a moral failure to be poor. I think that's the villain origin story, you know. Well, not that I'm a villain, but well, not yet. But what is my favourite meal out? I love Italian food. Adore Italian food. But if I could go anywhere for a meal tonight, if I could just go and I'd be there, I would be in Mama in Paris. I can't wait to go back there. My heart belongs there. If I could, I'd live there. But I don't piss gold, unfortunately. So unfortunately can't. I've seen better with language than most. It's always been wordy. I come from a family of undiagnosed neurodivergence. My mum told me that I was reading newspapers in full sentences at the age of 3. Always had a really advanced reading age. But if you try to get me to do a maths sum, you're going to be gutted. I can't do. Terrible at maths, like frankly dyslexic with maths. But always been a strong writer, reader, and chatty bastard. So Paris, what? Mama in Paris. It's the northern. I can't say it. Arrondissement. Arrondissement. I can't do it. I can say apportez-moi l'addition, s'il vous plaît. My family's ADHD and have dyscalculia, yeah. Usually it's one or the other. My nan was both. My nan was a maths whiz. Oh no, my nan wasn't both. She was like, we have problems with numbers in this family. But yet she was the most well-read person I've ever met in my life. It's definitely dyscalculia. Because they jumble, you know. I struggle even just to put a phone number in a phone. So Mamart's, oh God, I keep getting a yearning to go back there. I cried when I left. I was only there for like 3 days. I just feel at home there. I feel very, very happy there. So if I could have a 5-year plan, it would be to move to Paris if I could. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in. I think I'm probably going to wrap it up a bit. I feel like I've gone on a bit longer than I was supposed to. Someone did ask me earlier on about how I feel about Americans pronouncing Adidas. I'll talk to Mike about that because I'm going to be on the Bin podcast soon. And I'll have a chat with him about it. And I'm also going to I'm going to learn how to make myself some fancy intros like Graham and Aid have. I might even get them to do some like AI, because Aid's F Your Bins intro was terribly brilliant. So thank you so much for supporting my first ever solo YouTube live stream. And I'm very glad that I did it because yeah. Oh, before I go, Yuri, you did not do a 5-day photography walk around Mama. Oh my God. Although I really don't like organised fun, I would love to do some photography there because I was a photographer before I did all this. I need to get my portfolio up on my backup Instagram channel. But Graham did tell me I assumed he would still be out getting tanked. So I did ask him earlier. He said he didn't know what he was doing. So I said, oh, I won't base it around you. Tan solo, very good. Because what I'd normally do, or what we all normally do, because we're all mates, we're all bloody mates, is like Aid will say, coming up next is Politics Social. And what I was going to do was go before or after Graham so we could kind of like introduce each other because we all support each other's channels and each other's output. And as I said before, any opportunity to boost those guys, because Aid Thompson and Other Disappointments is making the best political content. He's the political content creator's content creator. He's awesome. He's like a bitter father version of Charlie Brooker. Love that guy to bits. And Graham is a prolific streamer, incredibly well put together, thought out shows, excellent at ranting, passionate, articulate contributions. They're both dear friends of mine, and I'm extremely glad that Graham's okay, because I don't know what I'd have done. I think I'd have been devastated if anything had happened to him. So thank you so much for your really positive comments. It really means loads to me, because despite my videos probably having a bit more of a kind of go into the zone of it's not a persona, but it's kind of like almost like a kind of, I guess, a stand-up zone. I'm not actually a proper hard arsehole. I'm actually bit of a softie, so that means loads to me. Thank you so much. Yuri, yeah, I'm planning to go back as soon as I can. I'm going to try and go back if I can in autumn. My favourite Rick mail saying, oh, what a smashing blouse you have on. There's so many. I think interesting is one of them. Interesting. Or wind smear. My brothers always quote the gloom juice at each other. Or sandwiches. When he's negotiating on the there's so many. There's so many. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm going to be working on my backdrop. I'm going to be moving into my cubby, which you can't see here, and going to be making it look all a bit more fancy, so you don't have to deal with what looks like a crack carpet, because no one wants a crack carpet, do they? And you're here in the infancy whilst I'm just feeling out the whole thing, and I'm so grateful for the community of people who tune in and leave lovely comments, and I try to keep up with them as much as I can, but I've got 6 platforms. See, I can't count. I've got 6 platforms that I'm running all by myself with notifications coming out of my ears, and I try to get back to you, but I do take them in and I do read it all, and I appreciate and love all of you. And next week, God knows what will happen. But I will be here and I will be keeping you in the loop. But if you've got any feedback at all about what you think I could do better or anything at all, yeah, just drop me a comment after the stream. But until next time, thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next Sunday at a time that my ADHD brain will inform you of closer to the stream.